we gotta have fun. Hawaiian palm trees, oh, Hawaiian sweet breeze, ah, Hawaiian blue seas, oh yeah, we gotta have fun. Tutu's laughing, Keki's dancing, Mama's watching the show. Come on, brother, bring your ohana, it's time to watch the show. Hawaiian moonlight, oh, Hawaiian sunset, ah, Hawaiian romance, oh yeah, we gotta have fun. Hawaiian sweet talk, oh, Hawaiian sweet bread, Hawaiian spirit led, oh yeah, we gotta have fun. Tutu's laughing, Keki's dancing, Mama's watching the show. Come on, brother, bring the ohana, it's time to watch the show. Hawaiian Heartlight, oh, Hawaiian Heartlight, ah, Hawaiian Heartlight, oh yeah, we gotta have fun. Hawaiian Heartlight, oh, Hawaiian Heartlight, ah, Hawaiian Heartlight, oh yeah, we gotta have fun. We gotta have fun.
Good morning, Hawaii. Have I got a special treat for you? As you can see, my beautiful ladies sitting either side of me, they are from Nigeria. Did I say it right? Nigeria?
That's right.
And I have a treat for you. The Lord bless me to be able to bring them on the show and share their lives, what they do. And this is a daughter and a mother team, but what our lovely, lovely mother does in Nigeria. She's a principal of her own school and a queen in her own rights, and we're going to discuss that. And the hardships that she has come through to do the things that God has called her to do. And they're going to share between mother and daughter is Nena. She has gone to, was it Harvard College or
Yeah.
Harvard?
Yeah,
And then too, they came from New York. They've got friends in New York, relatives in New York. And a little bit about that, a little bit about everything, so that you will find out what the heart is of Nigeria and what they're doing over there. I think this is going to be a fabulous show. Please watch and enjoy. Meanwhile, back at the farm, I hope your day has been okay. I hope that the Lord has kept you without any harm. And you know, He says that He will always be there to help us and take us through all of our journeys. And so many people come from the other nations and they've journeyed a long way. And it costs money to travel to these days, to come a long way. And so we have this precious lady who's doing a wonderful work in her school that she started. Is that correct now?
Yes. she
Nena,
started
that your
this-
mom started a school,
That's right.
and you're both named Nena. How come you both named Nena? The first thing I asked you, how come you're Nena and your mom is Nena too?
Well, Nena is a derivative name.
Nena.
Yeah.
Okay.
It means grandmother. And where we come from, we have a pattern of naming names. The first daughter is always named after the mother of the father. So Ne means mother, Nna means father. So Nena means father's mother, which is grandmother.
I see.
So that's why the first daughter in our village is almost always named after the grandmother. So we're all Nenas.
Oh my goodness.
All the first daughters are Nenas.
It would be like all of us named Tutus here because that's what a
Yeah.
grandmother is Tutu.
That's true. The grandmother also has her own name. So I have my own name, another name, which is my real grandmother's name. So that's the other name. So she also has another name, which is her real grandmother's name, just like a tutu has her own real name.
I see. That's how they carry it down.
That's right.
So what's your other name?
My other name means ivory, precious, something precious, which is ivory, which
Beautiful.
means oduenyi, is the tusks of the elephant,
The tusks of the elephant.
ivory, which was very precious in those days. And so I'm named after a very special woman. We'll get into that later.
All right, all right.
That's it.
And we're blessed to have your mother here today and
Okay.
introduce you. Mom, Hello.
Hello.
How are you? You
I'm
like
fine.
Hawaii, don't
And
you?
I love Hawaii.
Tell me why, you dear soft-spoken woman, you like Hawaii.
One, Hawaii is very, very neat.
Hawaii is very, very neat.
Yes.
What do you mean? Just a neat place, or it's clean, or what?
Clean.
Clean.
Clean all over. The other adjective is it's very beautiful.
All that you
With
see.
all the flowers everywhere.
Or where you come from, there are the pesky little flies. Right? Everywhere.
Not flies everywhere.
Flies, not so much the flies. It's
Not
just that
so
the
much.
streets are not as well maintained as here.
Yes.
Oh, I see. They're not as groomed as they
Yes,
are here.
yes.
In most countries, that is true.
That's true.
That's true. And Hawaii has its little pests.
That's right.
Pests, if you see them, cockroaches and centipedes and some other things. But
I've seen it just once.
just one. You lucky you saw just one. Was it a big one?
Well, the usual size.
Oh, well, you have cockroaches over there too, huh? Well, we have them big enough over here that you can throw a saddle on them and ride them. You maybe not understand that, but they actually take them and catch them, and they're kitchen cockroaches, and they teach them how to race, and they have races with cockroaches. Now, I don't know if they still do that. That was what I read a long time ago. So we are well acquainted with those big ones anyway. Your family, our family, and I expect maybe you want to talk story and tell me about everything. I want everything that you've got on the list. We have a full hour to be real. Would you like to open up? And your family brought Christianity into your village, and what's the name of your village?
Oh, the name of my village is Abiriba.
Abiriba?
That's right.
Okay.
It's also called Small London.
Oh, because it's like London?
It used to be very beautiful. And it still is,
very
but not the way it used to be. It used to be, we had these grand old homes, mansions, and beautiful place. So we call it Little London. We have a baby Ben also.
Instead of Big Ben clock.
We have our own.
You have little baby Ben.
We have
Is
our
it
own
as
little
big?
Ben. Not as big, but we do have our own baby Ben there. And it's also called the City of Millionaires. If you go do some research on my village, you will see that even in the old days,
It was a lovely city there.
It was a lovely
city.
city.
Of millionaires.
And they are very hardworking, enterprising, and they own lots of businesses all along the West African coast.
And were your parents and grandparents into that?
No.
They were not into the...
They were not into that.
The more higher society in the plush or whatever, huh?
Well, they were in the higher society, but in a different way. They were in
Okay.
the church and also in the schools. They were leaders of the community, so they brought Christianity to my village.
Really?
Yeah, my family, my grandparents and my granduncle and my grandmother.
What a wonderful
Yes.
legacy you have.
Yes, I'm proud of that. They were not so much into the business, but they were very much into education. Because in those days, schools and churches went hand in hand. So the first people to be educated were also members of my family, because the missionaries brought education also. I remember my grandmother used to tell us stories. She said in those days when they went out to evangelize, that the people of the surrounding villages will say, "This is not our God, it is the God of the village of Abiriba." And the people of the village will say, "It is not our God, it is the God of a tiny clan of Amanta." And the people of the clan will say, "It is not our God, it is the God of the people deeper inside there, the compound."
So it was just a matter of what village they were from. They had different gods.
No, they were just saying, "This God is not ours." And they'll finally say, "It is the God of the Agwo Cake Uche family. It is their God."
I see.
So when my grandmother used to pray, she would start praying the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Okekuche, which is our family name. It is our God. So growing up, I used to think we fit right into that lineage, that we're all part of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob family because of the way she always started her prayers,
Which is true.
That is true.
Yes, it's true. And so education is important to you, and that's why you got your education over here Was it Harvard or
That's
Cambridge?
right. Education has been very important in my family. Like I stated, right from when the missionaries came, my uncles were headmasters, or they worked in schools or in the church. And on both sides of my family, my mother's father was also a teacher. So education has always been very important in my family. My uncle on my mother's side actually went to Harvard. He got his doctorate in economics in the 50s from Harvard.
In the 50s?
Yes.
Okay.
And he went on to become one of the ministers in Nigeria during the Civil War in Nigeria.
And when you say ministers, do you mean education?
In government.
In government.
That's right. In government. That's what
they call ministers there.
Yes.
In government, yeah.
Yes. So education has always been very important. My father also studied in England. Many years ago, the community sent him there because they wanted somebody to become an educator to the village.
In England?
Yes.
So was he educated there?
Yeah, he was educated there.
I see. So that is a kind of like out of little London
to
into
the
big London, right?
Actually in Scotland, Edinburgh.
Scotland.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been both places.
That's true. So that shows a lot about community. Because in those days, if they saw a promising child, the community would get together and say, let's send this person to school. My father was in medical school, actually.
Wow.
But they said they needed an educator more than a doctor. So, like I said, my people were more into business. So they said, we need somebody to help the community to become more educated. So he went to school there and also studied to become a teacher.
Wow, he was multi-purpose.
That's right, yeah.
Very talented, multi-talented.
That's right.
And so this is all the background of what you're bringing forth now is to talk story about your mom.
Yeah.
And what she has done is not an unusual thing.
Yeah.
In a way, because it's in her blood.
Yes.
It's in the lifeline and what you have been doing in education and such in your village.
That's right. My mother usually says that's all she's done all her life, teach. She started teaching from a very young age. So she'll tell the story later. But I admire her courage and starting a school of her own.
Well, when you say you admire her courage, what is that? Because it says you named a grandmother who fought to end the killing of twins in the village.
Okay.
A mighty woman of God. What was that all about?
Oh, my grandmother, whose name I bear, the one I'm named after. She was a feisty woman. She is like I said, she and her husband, my grandfather, and also the uncle. They were the first people to bring Christianity to the village. And in those days, they used to have some practices, evil practices, like the killing of twins.
Wow, the first people now to bring Christianity, and I want everybody to hear that.
Yeah.
And there was a practice, an evil practice of killing of twins. Why did they do that? Did they think it was a bad spell or something was wrong when they had
didn't
twins?
understand it. You know, you're supposed to have one child, and then you have two, so they didn't understand it. So they usually kill the twins and sometimes send the mother out to the evil, abandoned, the mother in the evil forest.
Well, that just to kill her children would be enough to send her.
That's right.
To a sad state, or an end state of life. But it was because of ignorance, right?
It was ignorance,
So when the Christianity came in, they said no more.
No more. So
no
they
more
took
killing.
on the village, no more. And the stories are here. My grandmother used to go rescue those women and their kids, and she raised up some of those people.
Really?
Yeah.
She went and rescued them before they got killed?
That's right.
How wonderful.
That's right. So we call her the original Mother Teresa.
Oh, I love that.
That's right.
What you stem from is someone who was like the original Mother Teresa.
That's right.
Oh, how wonderful. You've got a wonderful heritage, Mommy. Okay, go on. Tell me more now.
Well, many of my uncles, like I said before, they also went into education. And right now, my cousin in California, she's also a principal of a school there in California.
Good.
So We have people. I also have a master's degree in education.
Wonderful, wonderful. I can tell.
Yeah.
You just so eloquent and beautiful
Thank
in the
you
way
very
you
much.
speak and present. You have also mom's sisters in New York, right?
Yeah, my mother's sister, she's a social worker.
Right.
In
And
New
they
York.
had a little hardship there with losing their children somehow too when they came over.
Yes.
One accident, but I don't know about the rest.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it hasn't been an easy road
No, it hasn't been. Definitely hasn't been.
for you two.
Yes, it
How
hasn't
did you
been.
get over here to Hawaii?
That's a long
with us?
story. I'll just say I came here by special invitation.
Oh, nice. And then you stayed by
And I
special
stayed. I always said I
invitation.
didn't want to come to Hawaii because I had this fear that if I came here, I may never go back. And it has turned out to be true.
So your fears turned out to be
Turned out
true.
to be true. So I'm still in
But
Hawaii.
we need you here.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I work in different capacities in the schools, and sometimes I also work with the elderly, and I also work with the mentally ill. So I do sometimes voluntary, sometimes it's on call. So I derive a lot of joy and fulfillment from reaching out to different communities. I've set aside my previous career, which was in journalism. That's
Journalism.
journalism.
Uh-huh.
So, but now I'm in Hawaii. I'm just taking on whatever comes in and being able to share my life in different settings. So,
Well, you'll go back into journalism
Journalism.
someday.
someday.
Because you always, whatever you've done and conquered or done like that in the past will come back into use.
That's right.
For a reason, God lets you go through that
That's right.
and become educated. I'm glad you're here. We welcome you here to stay here and educate us.
Thank you very much.
And so you're here, though, but you're not married. I don't know.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, beautiful lady. So you impacted Africa with Christianity, and then what happened? Christianity today in Nigeria, no culture wars, no different churches. Is that what it says here? Is that
Well,
true?
What we mean by that is like here, there's a lot of debate on abortion, on ordaining or not ordaining gay priests, and all those kinds of debates. In Nigeria, those are moot issues, you know. It's like
Yeah, they're just not there.
they're just not debating those things, you know.
But are they there?
I mean, those rarely and
Good.
rarely. I mean, people do have abortions, but they do not say it's the right thing to do. I mean,
see.
nobody's
I
marching
got
saying
you.
it's
Only
the right
America,
thing
right, and
to
some
do.
other
You know,
nations.
debate over it. You know, everybody basically accepts it's the wrong thing to do, but some people will do it. Doesn't mean they're all
I see.
perfect, you know.
Right.
So there are no such debates whether to teach Bible knowledge in school or not. All
That's
the schools teach it.
interesting. In
In the
Nigeria.
north, we have the Muslims, you know, so they teach the Quran there.
Ah.
And in some schools, they teach you both. You study both in the school, you know. So it's a moot issue whether you should teach the Bible or not. You know, I learned Bible knowledge in high school.
Yeah. Oh,
all
that's
through.
so good.
Yeah, it was taught as a historical, not so much as preaching to you, but almost everyone takes it.
Like history.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hear that even in the Quran, when I was listening to TBN and Paul Crouch, they were talking with a man that said in the Quran, it does speak of Jesus coming
Yeah.
in a different way. It's kind of veiled,
Yeah,
but it's all there.
That's right. But the most important thing to remember is not enough to acknowledge Jesus as a prophet.
That's the key.
You have to acknowledge Jesus as the Son of God.
Yeah, not just a prophet,
Not just a prophet.
but the real Son
That's right.
of our God.
Yes.
And that the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And that's important. And we have that everywhere in the world, though.
That's right.
To acknowledge, you know, some people want to acknowledge other peoples as their gods.
That's right.
But we know differently. And
Okay.
you have no culture wars. In the different churches, you have exuberant praise and worship in almost all Nigerian churches.
That's right.
Old and new churches, because you're old London style.
That's right.
And Pentecostal or Presbyterian or
Anglican.
Anglican.
Which is Episcopal.
I remember going into England, and I loved England. I loved the Cotswolds and all, and I got
Yeah.
into some of the little old churches back there. And actually, some of them had the charismatic
Yeah.
move of God and
That's
had some
right.
fire in them. But generally speaking, they didn't have a lot of spirit back in the 80s and 90s. They didn't have a lot of the move of God. But we're back here to talk about Nigeria.
Okay.
And it's so interesting to know that you compared So you must have had a lot of London millionaires in Nigeria, right? I'm going back and thinking about it. And you know, the London people are very stiff.
Yes.
I'm English, so I can talk. We're very stuffy and we're very stiff, you know, and that's okay. But I like a more relaxed attitude like what you have.
The Londoners did a lot of good. The British missionaries who came to Africa, they helped change all those customs, like the evil customs I talked about. They built the
good.
schools and the hospitals.
Good.
So they did a lot of good for Africa, for Nigeria, for my hometown. So we have a lot to be grateful for, even though they were not as charismatic as churches are today, but they did a lot of good.
Same way with the missionaries coming here.
Yeah.
They did a lot of good, and
That's
they were like me, holy and
That's
all.
right.
And they did some bad, but that's all right. If we can forgive the bad that
That's
they
right.
did. They were just human.
That's right.
But they did more good than bad.
That's right. I agree with that. A lot more good than bad.
And so this is what it's like over there. You lament that Westerners are picking up the idols and the religions that you discarded.
That's right.
And you're coming back to preach a word contrary to what their ancestors correctly taught us centuries ago. Now, what do you mean idols that we pick up? Idols of money and greed? Capitalism? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, not just that. I'm just talking more about their fascination with exotic religions, you know.
Like Harry Potter and the supernatural.
All those things, supernatural kinds of things.
That's
you know,
on television now.
You know, Christianity for them is so, it's like, they now take it as it's no big deal anymore.
Well, you don't have no voodoo no more. No do voodoo anymore
Well,
over
it's still
there.
practiced in some pockets of the society, but it's not. Most people have become Christians now, or in the northern part, they are Muslims.
Well, I know that a lot of our good ministers here, men ministers, come from Africa.
That's true.
And they say that America doesn't have the revival that
That's
Africa
right,
has.
which they brought to us. Yeah. And it's many of the people who led the revival in Africa, in Nigeria, and among the churches were the Pentecostal churches that came. Hagen, Oral Roberts. I remember I started going to a church when the Pentecostal movement first started in Nigeria. It was a big deal then. And it's just taken Africa and Nigeria in particular by storm. And the revival has spread from those Pentecostal churches to the old mainline churches, the Anglican churches, the Presbyterian churches too.
Good.
So they also have, they feel the spirit too.
Yeah.
And there's not so much difference now.
I know Dr. Rodney Brown came over, and he and his wife were in Africa.
Yeah.
I don't remember which city or town, but they came over here to America to evangelize us.
That's true.
They said that America was poor in her religious outlook, you know, and we were drawing away from the Bible and the Bible principles and the Bible belt
That's
and
right.
all the things that God really counted as good.
That's right.
We've come away from.
That's right, because after America has become rich, they have forgotten the Christian foundation this country was built on, and it's really lamentable.
And is your Christian relation is still in government over there? Like we're trying to keep ours here, of the Ten Commandments and such, going strong in the schools and in the courts and things like that. Is in Nigeria and in Africa, are they still going strong as for the Ten Commandments and prayer in school and things like that over in Nigeria?
Yes, many of the schools you are allowed to teach the Bible, but it's still different between the government schools and the Christian schools. So there's some difference still, you know. I mean, they are more into it in the Christian schools than in the government schools, because those are government schools. So there's still some separation, you know, between, to some degree.
Come since your ancestors and uncle brought Christianity into the village, then this is kind of sprung off into government and Christianity.
That's
in
true.
school. But your mom now has, your mom. Yeah, it's your mom.
Mother, yeah.
Your mother has brought in, by having her school
Yes.
and teaching the Christian principles there.
Yeah.
She's gone kind of back into what your ancestors had, you know, and she's inherited all of that.
Yeah.
Bringing that back in education to the children there,
That's right. Yeah, so maybe later she can talk about her school, how she started the school,
Right.
and the principles on which she built her school.
Right, and that's wonderful.
That's right.
And I think we should be helping one another. As you
That's
send
right.
people over here to help us,
That's right.
we should be sending a few people over there to help you.
That's true. That's true. That's the way it should be.
Now, I heard a little bird told me that you were engaged one time to a gentleman.
I don't want to talk about that.
But he is no longer, and you lost him.
No, yeah, that's
Right.
okay. That's now.
So you gave that into the hands
I
of the
gave
Lord.
that to the hands of the Lord.
But that still hurt.
Yeah, they still hurt.
You know,
It still hurt.
but God is God, and the Lord comes into our lonely places. I lost a child, and I know
Okay.
what it's like to lose someone.
That's right.
Whether they're 70 or they're 50 or they're 17 or they're whatever
Mm-hmm.
age, it's very hard.
The most important thing is that he gave his life to the Lord.
And that is all important, because you'll see
I
him
wasn't
again.
so sure, but on his deathbed, I asked him again,
Wow,
are you going to give your life to the Lord?
wow,
And he said yes.
praise God.
So I felt maybe that's all I was supposed to do in Hawaii. That's why God sent me all the way
here
to
to
come here, just to make
Hawaii.
sure,
It was here.
yeah, that
Oh.
he accepted the Lord. I mean, he was going to church, but I didn't quite know because he was very brilliant. Everything was in his head, so I didn't know whether it was really in his heart. So asking him again,
Right.
Do you
Intellect
us-
doesn't carry you to heaven.
That's right.
It's the heart to elect.
Yeah.
Inside there to elect Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
That carries you to heaven.
yes,
Oh, I'm so glad you did that. You blessed him.
Thank
Even
you.
though he was sure, you had to be sure in your own
I
heart.
had to be sure.
That was great. Well,
That's
we'll
right.
go on now to your mom. When you said we're picking up the idols, we did it at the role of your mother, Nena, in school and extending the kingdom of God in Nigeria.
Through her school.
Good morning. Again, precious. You're like my grandmother. She took a little cat nap in between in the meetings, you know. And I'd always ask my grandma, how was the meeting, Grandma? She'd say, wonderful, wonderful. And I knew that she had a little cat nap in between. But
Yes.
even I take cat naps.
You can't help it.
You can't help it. Well, we're both 70. I'm 71.
I will be 70 April next year.
See, you're just a young chick. You're just a young woman.
I tell people I'm 70. Yes.
Yes.
My friends remind me because I tell them you are the younger ones, and they don't want that.
But you work hard. That's why you take a little cat nap. And you now, how did God speak to your heart to open a school and be the principal over there? And are you a real queen?
Super queen.
A what?
Super queen.
Yuba queen.
Super queen.
Super queen.
Super.
Is that the Lord elected that, or your community elected that?
The Lord.
The Lord did. I like
Yes.
that. Can I be a queen too?
Of course.
Oh, okay. I like that.
That's the thing about God.
Yeah.
He gives everybody the opportunity
King and
to
queen.
be this and that or that.
That's beautiful. How did you first get the vision of starting the school? What
Yeah.
was in your heart and your mind?
As I've been saying, I've been in teaching all along.
Speak up a little bit.
I have been in teaching all my life.
Wow.
And recently, when the government took over schools, and I had the opportunity of visiting schools, schools weren't what I used to know schools to be.
They had lost their
Yes.
respect
Yes,
and their
a little.
love
Yeah.
for the Word of God
Yes.
and teaching it in the school. Sad.
Yeah. So I thought, perhaps if I start a little school, yes, God would take care of those children. And then there'll be what I've always wanted school children to be.
So you returned back to the Lord and you decided to start a school. That wasn't easy, was it?
It wasn't easy at all. The good thing is this. I didn't start thinking of buildings. Well, buildings didn't bother me so much. When you retire, you are paid gratuity in Nigeria.
When
we
she
call.
retires, what does she mean?
That when you retire,
Yeah.
when you retire from, she retired from public service, and then she started her own school.
Ah,
That's what she's saying.
I see. So it didn't bother you to,
When
where's
I
the building?
retired, when I retired,
When you
I
retired?
was paid a lump sum of money.
Ah, all right.
And I didn't know what to do with the money. So I put it in a bank and said, God, it's there. You tell me what I'll do with it. I didn't want to start withdrawing some. No. I wanted that money used for something specific. Then a friend invited me to continue teaching in her own private school. In her private school. I accepted the invitation. It
Even
was
after you retired?
Yes,
Yes.
after I retired. It was while in her school that the Lord said, how about starting your own school with that money?
Wow.
Yes.
Wonderful. And you
Yes.
wonderful you had the money.
Yeah. So I used that and got buildings for all the classes of the elementary school.
All right.
Yes. So that's how the school started. I left that school, spoke to the lady, told her this, and then used that money, supervised the construction. And then as soon as the buildings were ready, I advertised.
So you oversaw, you were an overseer of the buildings being built, is that
Yeah.
correct?
That's right.
Nena, and you watched them come up.
Yes, that's
What
it.
a joy.
Yes.
What a joy. It's like you've come to this time in your life and
Yes.
you had a vision that you wanted to do something for God and your country. And then you finally came into that and you could watch the buildings.
Yes.
I'm in the very midst of doing the same thing
Yes.
myself right now at 71 and watching God build something. However, I'm not paying the full freight. But you did. And so as it came into being, God said to you, now I want to teach you to teach the children again the basics of Christianity, that their faith might be in God. In the God of your village? Or
Amen. God of Uche family.
And so when you saw the building built and you went in and you blessed the building, how did that happen? They all blessed the building before you opened it up?
Yes.
Yes, all the preachers and everybody came and blessed?
I had to bring in the pastor of my church.
Good.
Yes, and so he did the blessing. I brought him in, and then invited, of course, some other persons.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
It was a blessed day.
And then you rolled up your sleeves and went to work,
Yes.
right? And you saw to it that the principles of God were given forth.
And of course, any parent who came to talk about bringing in his or her child, I made it clear.
What did
That-
she say now? Any parent who brought the children in what?
Any
Let me
parent,
just raise her voice
any
and-
parent
Yes,
wanting
yes,
his or her child
yes.
to be admitted into the school, one thing I made sure I told the parent was, this is a Christian school.
And we have rules in
Yes.
Christian schools. There's
Yes.
rules and there's orders and
Yes.
order
Yeah, that's it.
and principles that you teach. And you are the principal. That is being a principal.
Well, I started off being the principal, but now I have people who take care.
Good.
I have
So are
people
you
who
able
take
to
care.
travel a little bit more now?
In fact, that's why I can afford to be here
I see.
and relax.
Because the family back home made your way over here to see your daughter. And we may lose her if we're not careful. This is a good one over here. I'd like her to stay in Hawaii and do the work God's called her. But you see, your legacy is traveling down through your daughter here. Isn't it wonderful?
It is.
The righteous
It is.
inheritance
Yes.
travels on down, my dear.
My father was a teacher.
He was a deacon.
A teacher.
Oh, a teacher.
My father was a teacher, and the whole community called him teacher.
Teacher.
The whole
Yeah.
community, yes.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yes.
And the whole community calls you Queen now. Queen Mother. And your goals, you came over here with a goal to visit our Hawaiian school, and I heard that you were with Pastor Art Savovada. I don't know if it's doctor, but it's Pastor Art Savovada. And see how they were running the school there in Word of Life, right? You did that.
Word of Life Academy. They
Academy.
invited her over
Academy.
there. Yeah.
And so the head of that academy invited you in, and you saw. Did you pick up any good tips?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of
And
course.
I have a file of this and that.
Information.
Yes,
They
a
give
file of information. Where to go for this, where to go for that.
That. Good.
And I'm so happy with
That's
Word
good.
of Life. Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
Now, I'm especially interested in getting what you're doing out into our village of Hawaii, what you are doing, why you're here. And you must have, let's see, you are an advisor to the governor and education and interested in consulting for schools and educational organizations. Is that here or is that in Kenya? I mean,
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
Well, I've got Kenya on my mind. Nigeria.
Yeah, in Nigeria, at some point in time, I was the advisor
I
to
see.
our governor on
I see.
education.
So you
Then
have,
after that, I was the chairman of what we call Secondary Education Management Board.
wow.
That board takes care of high school education in the state. So I was the chairman. I organized things, yeah.
And what you do, you get them through your school, on your schooling, and you get them into a high school where they get a higher education so they can go to a higher education in college, right? And your school has been more productive in putting out children that can go right into high positions in school because that's what you were born to. And all of your relatives, all of you were born to do this in your country.
That's right.
And maybe you'll do some of that over here in our country. We need good people here too.
That's right.
And are you looking, no, for assistance in developing the curriculum and books for schools? But what else are you looking for with us? What in Hawaii can we help you with? You didn't seem like you had many computers or anything, and no internet access. I've never heard of that, even though I don't use it. I've never heard of not having much access, and computers and few textbooks. So you're on a tight budget, and yet you're a
That's
school
the
of excellency. So what do we need, folks? What do we need, you guys? What do we need? Do we need help? Do you need help? Do you have a number that we can call if we want to help you?
You see, the school is so good. It's very good.
Yeah.
It's rare to find a school where all the children in the graduating class make distinction in all the key subjects. Like all my children keep making distinction in English, they keep making distinction in maths and the sciences.
English,
Yes.
math, and science.
Yes.
Science. So they don't do that in all the other schools as much or as well.
They do, but at the end of what we call junior high school, the state organizes for everybody, for all schools,
And what does that mean?
exam.
You said there's like an SAT.
They excel.
The equivalent of SAT. She said has children excel in the core subjects, math, English, and the sciences.
Wow, isn't that
Even
wonderful?
though it's a small school run on a tight budget, but they do Well, exceedingly
Very well.
abundantly.
Because God has his hand over your work.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
is a God-given vision that God gave you.
Yes.
And you put all that loving care and money and finances into being the best. And the Lord loves the best out of
Yes.
us and out of his
Yes.
people. So how can we help you? That is a wonderful what you've done, and you are a queen in my eyes.
Thank you very
and
much.
in the Lord's eyes.
Thank you.
Queen Nena.
you.
And how would you say that we could help as people here in Hawaii in any way help you and your precious mother in the school over there?
Well, one is to establish linkages, you know. Some people are interested in pen pals, you know, correspondence between the children in the schools. And she's learning from the schools, and I think they can also learn from her because she used to turn around schools. They used to send her to schools that were failing, and she would turn the schools around, you know. So that's how she got to be the advisor to the governor on education, and also from her experience of being the chairperson of the state school management board. So she has a lot of knowledge, not just about the teaching, not about content, but also about the administration.
Turning it around. to
Turning
prosper.
schools around, you know. So I think it would be nice for her to establish those linkages with other people in education here.
Yes.
And also, she can learn a lot from them. I believe they also have a lot to learn from her. Sometimes I go to some schools, I say, okay, I think they need my mom here
Yeah.
to
Well,
turn it around.
Do you think that maybe God has sent you over here so that you could turn some of our schools around?
I wish I had such power.
You know what, precious, because that's what God does. Because we do need, our children do need the best education ever. And we're trying very hard through the private schools and through the public schools
Yes,
to bring our kids up to the equal of what everybody else in the mainland has.
That's true. I do some substitute teaching sometimes, and I tell the kids, I'm going to send you to Africa for 1 month. I'll send you to my mother's school for 1 month. And my mom visited one of the schools, and the kids were all over her, take me to Africa, take me to Africa. You know, it was fun. Well, I think the teachers are very well trained here, and I think the teachers do a lot of work, but for some reason, the kids, I have a lot of difficulty managing some of the kids. You know, it's like I'm surprised, you know, that the behavior, you know, you spend half the time managing the students, you know. So I think there's a lot to learn about those kinds of things. Now, coming back to what she just reminded me of, the computers will also help to establish those linkages, you know, to keep in contact.
Yes, you need that.
Yeah, we tried, you know. I would like to acknowledge that MIT gave her a computer a while ago. And so she still has one computer in the school. But it would be nice to have more computers and helping with the setup, because you don't just need the computer, everything else that goes with it, you know, so that they can go online, get a lot of information, because it's very expensive to transport the books back. Of course, she's going to buy lots of books here, but it would be nice to have those computers over there.
Can we
also.
get the computers over there less expensive, or are they more expensive here?
Well, some computers, they don't have to be new, you know. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
that's good.
We've got some donations, you know, in the past, you know, when I lived in Boston. But I think that would be one way, you know. And also textbooks. We've been looking at textbooks to see the best textbooks for her school. We spend a lot of time visiting bookstores and just trying to, information also, and if some schools have too many of these things that they're old, they're discarded, you know, some of them, you know, so we could definitely use.
Right, and they have the wrong experiences of Darwin and all in them to teach our children. We don't want that.
That's true.
So we want an up-to-date, more.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't want discarded books. So.
No, I'm not talking in terms of discard. Some of the schools, they have some very good books.
You can just kind of go through them and find out what is good and what isn't good.
That's right, yeah.
Just so you can get them.
Yeah,
But
and
you
also,
being here in the States, you can do that better than having to send them over, ship them over, and Mom has to go through them. You can go through them over here and say, this is good, and this is not, and this is worthy to ship over.
That's true. And also the publishers, you know, some of them, you know, who want to support education in Africa, those would be the best people too.
Good. Well, I hope we can connect you up with people like that.
Yes.
I'd like to have a link with you
The
somehow.
thing is, it would be great if I go home with some of these textbooks. Like, for instance, in the high school, the textbook for biology, for physics, for chemistry, the best textbooks. If I go home with them, my teachers will welcome me. They celebrate my return.
Biology.
These are the yes, biology, chemistry, physics. Yes, mathematics.
My.
Yes,
Well, I know
geometry,
Algebra.
algebra.
maths. Yes.
I know my husband was a chemical engineer, and he has many of those books that are still there, and those stay kind of the same
Yes,
in
some of them.
chemistry and physics and all. But of course, they've learned a lot since then.
That's right.
But still, they do teach the right principle of the whatever. And what else do we need now? Besides that, all those good books, and your teachers would be so happy if the
Yes.
principal and the Queen Mum would bring back and call her the Queen Mum, because that's what they had in England, the Queen Mum. And could bring back something or send something. So what is your, there it is. Well, that's for information. You, 4180, that's me in Kaneohe. If you can help, please, if the Lord is speaking to your heart to help, will you do that? And what else would you like to add to that before we're off the air, Nena?
Well, I'd just like to say that it's good to sow good seeds. This is a good soil to sow seed that will bring forth, good fruits.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, I support her as much as I can in terms of getting the supplies to the schools. And I'll just encourage anybody who needs more information or who wants to be in contact with her, they can always reach her through me. And just prayerfully sow good seeds in good soil.
Yes. And will we be having your mother here some other time, someday, as the Lord provides?
That would be great. Yes,
You come
that
over
would be
to our
great.
lovely islands again, where we don't have so many little pesky flies, and everything is nice and clean. What is in your heart? Would you like, Mom, to have maybe 10 new schools start in different villages? What is your future vision, dream for your country?
For my country,
I know you have one.
For education or for her school?
For anything.
Okay, maybe for her school.
For
Yeah.
high school. To
For
put
high
it, get a
school.
high school, is that your next step?
I already have a high
You
school.
already have a high school. Oh, that's good.
I already have a high school.
What are your plans for your school?
Just what we've spoken about.
You're just gonna
The
stay there in
computers
your own village?
And the textbooks. Future of Nigeria, for us to have good leadership.
Good leadership.
Yes.
I know.
When the leader is okay, the whole country is okay.
All right.
Good leadership.
I think we all have that same prayer for good leadership.
Well, you have them.
Oh,
you,
we do.
You have
Okay,
good
we have
leaders.
Good, yeah.
You have, well, at least comparatively, you have very good leaders.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
What you're
And
saying.
I would like many more people to go to school up to university level as it is here, so that they have the freedom to talk about this and that, as you do here. Yes. Even little children who are in elementary schools talk about what is going on here. Yes.
They know what's going on in the
They know
United
yes,
States.
Yes, and they talk about it.
Well, your uncle was good enough to come over to Harvard,
Yes.
and he knew that we had a good school there, and there are many fine colleges in the world, but I would pray too that the colleges would acknowledge God.
That's true.
As they once did way
That's
back
right.
when you're, I've seen a lot of them come away from teaching and preaching the principles of the Lord. And that's why
true.
we have kids who don't know anything about God, and they're lawless, and they don't know how to go to school and how to handle the rules of good schooling, hard
That's
studying, and off of drugs and the whole thing. So I pray that your dream and your vision come to pass.
Thank you.
And I'm honored to have you and your beautiful daughter here today with me. I mean, I'm just a thorn between two roses here.
No way.
And what is your dream for Hawaii or for home?
Well, let me narrow it a little. Well, my dream now is to connect more with the students and be able to make changes, in their lives, I don't teach very often, but when I do, I enjoy it a lot. And my dream is to help in any way I can to teach them most of the time the way I was taught, because I thought that was pretty good education. And for me, my own dream is also to help support my mother's school some more, help especially with the curriculum, with the textbooks, and also getting help, connecting her with the people here, being like a liaison here, and helping to develop the school, and so that they can make a big difference. And who knows, maybe they can start a branch here
Maybe you could be a
in the U.S.
principal.
here someday. Maybe start a branch. Who knows, as the Lord leads,
Right.
because I think it would be wonderful to have a good school here that is has some African influence too.
You could play a principal part
That's right.
in helping many students, and we are a people of many colors here, and we
That's
love
right.
one another.
That's true.
Instead of having to say, I wish you could go over to Africa and see what my mom is doing in the schools, you could do it right here yourself without
That's true,
having
especially
to do
if
that.
computers are there.
And maybe we could even get some video over there
That's right.
to show what she is doing right, to teach teachers here what is right.
That's right.
We all are here to share the good knowledge of God
That's right.
and the principles and the right principles.
That's right.
And God didn't bring you here for nothing, my dear, lovely lady.
I always asked.
He brought you here that you might fulfill your dream to the
Amen.
fullest.
Amen.
You and I will not go home to the Lord until we've fulfilled the purpose and the plan and the destiny of
That's
God
it.
for us.
Amen.
And then we can go home and say, hallelujah, we did it.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
And he can say, well done, my good and faithful handmaiden.
Yes.
That's right.
servants. It is an
Just in case,
honor.
the,
What?
the name of the school,
What?
just in case, the name of my schools is Marymel Schools. Marymel Nursery, Marymel Elementary, Marymel High School, all in one.
Oh, say it again, Mary.
Marymel, M-A-R-Y-M-E-L, Marymel Schools.
And what does that mean, Mary Mel?
Let her explain.
Well, Mary stands for all the Marys in the Bible,
Yeah.
all the Marys in the New Testament, all the fantastic Marys in the Bible. Yes, that's the Mary. And then Mel is the short form of an educationist I know, a fantastic educationist. He's Mel Baum. So I put the two together to give me Mary Mel.
It sounds to me like Mary did very well. She was the mother of Jesus.
That's right.
And the Mary Magdalens that
Yes.
God brought into action and life again. And we would do well if we could be like the mother of the Lord.
Yes.
She was a virtuous woman. And her price was high above rubies. I mean, God
Yeah.
wants us
Yeah.
to be.
That's my number one Mary.
I
Mary, the
love
mother
it.
of Jesus.
Mother of
yes.
Jesus.
That's
And
right.
she was a gift to the world.
Yes.
You know, I often thought, while she was yet in her mother's womb, God knew and ordained her to be the mother of Jesus.
That's right.
And so while we are yet in our mother's womb, God has ordained us to become something more
Yes.
than just a human being walking around on the earth. And it's nice to be married, and it's nice to have all those things and everything, but we have a purpose here and a plan to help others as we go
Yeah.
through our earthly journey and walk.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing, because the Lord is going to say, and what did you do for me while you were here on earth? I gave you a time to come to the earth. I gave you life. I gave you birth. What did you do for me? It's what you have done for Christ will last.
Okay.
Or, you know, this life will soon pass, but what have we done for Christ that will last? So if you'd like to help, my dear, lovely lady, it's 808-722-5671. 808-722-5601. Nena just handed
5671.
5671. 5671. I became 71, so 5671. I've already been 56. Now I'm 71, and you're 70. When's your When's your birthday, Mom?
April 15.
April 15th, Texas.
Yes, I'll be
Okay.
70, April 15.
It has been a pleasure to have you both.
Thank you for
May the
having us
Lord
here.
bless you.
The Lord bless you.
Keep you, give you your heart's desire, Mother.
Remain blessed.
Thank you.
I know you are blessed. Remain blessed.
I will try.
And thank you
Thank you.
for bringing me here.
Thanks
we
for your
will-
kind donation.
You're welcome. We will expect you to help as the Lord touches your heart. Call those numbers, 808-722-5671. God love you. God bless you. May you be an instrument in the hand of God that brings wonderful dreams to pass, even as our mother, our Queen Mother was, and her daughter. God bless you. We'll see you again. And keep following in the plan of God, because you may become one of these wonderful women or wonderful men that does wonderful things in this world for the Lord. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Heartlight. Oh yeah, we got